Yeah, I'm back again, but today I thought I'd speak about Amad Diallo because there's been, for me, quite an uncomfortable rhetoric built up over the past few days, and I think it's built up from the start of the season, really, because Amad Diallo, I feel like's on his way to being scapegoated a little bit. But let me caveat that before people say I'm being over the top and I'm probably being a little bit too defensive of him. I'll be honest about it. I don't think he's had a great start to the season whatsoever, and I think he's been quite poor. But this is generally what happens with players at Manchester United, is that so many people usually play bad at the same time, collectively, and that's been for the past 4 or 5 years. That when you find a light in the dark, as Amad Diallo was for United last season, the moment your form dips, the fan base can turn on you. Especially when there's that desperation for success and some encouragement and some improvement. And the patience basically wearing thin within a majority of the fan base in terms of actually us being competitive again. But I'll be the first to say, he hasn't kicked on. A lot of people didn't like the Mbumo signing in terms of how they thought it impacts Amad Diallo on that right 10 position, because people didn't want him playing right wing back, which was something that I did have some sort of agreement with, because I thought for his technical ability and his qualities and his 1v1 ability and his technical close control, I was uncomfortable with how often I was seeing him chasing back forwards into our own box as a right wing back. So I did think I'd prefer him in a right 10. I thought people would say, oh, I prefer him on the touchline, and he's had decent performances in either position. I still think if you are going to see the best Amad Diallo, it is on the right or it is centrally, or where he has the ability to do both, as he's shown in his Sunderland days. I know it's a different level of competition. It's the Championship. It's a little bit more forgiving. But even still, I've not liked how this witch hunt that I feel like has been materialised against Amad. For me, I know that the dynamics between him and Mbumo down the right side haven't always been perfect. They like to do the same things. And his decision making has been very frustrating. He's making the wrong decisions more often than not. Shooting when he should pass. Maybe passing when he should be shooting. Not finding Sesko in the Chelsea game. I think there was one early in the season that's just missed my head right about now. But he's 23 years old. I'm not saying he's a baby, so I don't want to coddle him too much. And part and parcel of playing for Manchester United is the scrutiny and the expectation. And when you set a high bar for yourself like you did last season, people are expecting you to kick on. And in the first 5 games, he hasn't. But I'd like to be inclined, because I like him as a footballer and I like him as a player. And one thing that you can never, ever criticise Amad Diallo for is his work rate and his effort and his commitment. So when I'm seeing people trying to incorporate attitude problems into the criticism of Amad, I think that's incredibly disingenuous. And I'd like to know where that stems from. What has he ever shown you to suggest he has attitude issues? That is when you start to lose me. Criticise his performance, be upset, which I think was very over the top in terms of him taking a picture with Garnacho. I know Garnacho's public enemy number 1. I'm not his biggest fan either. But the abuse that he's received, which has led to him having to delete everything off his Instagram and his social media to almost hide away, that's where we're going wrong. And I've been guilty of this in the past. I've been openly critical of McTominay. I've probably gone overboard on Maguire in the past. But I've learned that those type of agenda-driven, without even realising it, subconsciously, type of toxic discourse towards players isn't always too helpful. So try to shy away from that. Because people even suggest I do that to Iagate, but if you go on my timeline, you would have seen me giving Ugarte props when props is due. I think that's... I'm not his biggest fan either. I wasn't happy with the signing initially, but he proved me wrong for a majority of the first season. But I think he's reverted back to the mean now. But I'm not trying to do a victory lap, and I'm not here to speak about Ugarte either. I'm here to speak about Amad. He's fallen short for where I'd like to see him perform. Has he been disrupted by Mbumo? He's playing left 10 as well with the injury to Mount and Cunha. Does that suit him? Probably not. But you do expect better and you expect more. But I'm going to rally behind him because I think it's just a rough patch and all players have them. It's just about whether he gets out the other side of that. There's another angle which I've seen a couple of people say to me, which is maybe Amad Diallo's performances last season wasn't a true reflection of his capabilities of a player, where it could have been a purple patch. And you're starting to see stuff now where maybe his actual level is somewhere in the middle. But I'm going to be on the positive side of it and think, no. He's 23. He had an incredible reputation back in his Atalanta days. He was seen as the Ivorian Messi. He's a full international for Ivory Coast who have quality players. And the potential and ceiling was always extremely high. It was just up to United, who signed him as an 18-year-old, to hone it. Sent him out on loan to Rangers. He struggled. He found it difficult. Maybe the environment wasn't perfect, or the environment wasn't really feasible to kind of breed his development. And then he's gone to Sunderland under Mowbray, and he was sensational in a Championship, which is a high-level league, especially for youngsters, where he was seen as a talisman, played in the 10, played on the right, played behind the striker, and he was incredible for him. Almost like a cult hero. And then he's come back to United, post Ten Hag, who didn't believe in him. And during a time where I don't think there was a single good, consistent performer, Amad Diallo was bailing us out of games, winning us games at the Etihad, winning us games against Liverpool at Anfield, and almost being that shining light and that light in the dark. But the fickleness of fanhood, where now he's being seen as public enemy number one almost, and him taking a picture with Garnacho, a friend and past teammate of his, didn't exactly help things. And that's what happens when your form drops. Every little thing you do is under a microscope and people use it against you. People refer to the time where he flicked off the fans with a middle finger. But that was months ago. But because he was playing well, nobody cared. But now that his form dips, it's being brought up again. But for me, he's too good a player with too much quality, too much of an honest, hard-working professional who had to grind to get where he is today. And he's grind to get himself back into the Manchester United picture when it almost seemed like 18 months ago he was out the door. And that's the type of characters I want in my team and the type of characters that I like. When you have that element of humility to him as well. So I'll be the first to say he needs to perform, he needs to start performing better. Because it's not been good enough, I'll be honest, and hope that he does. He needs to improve his decisions. He's almost kind of morphed some of the issues that we had with Garnacho into his game. Doesn't always need to be the match winner. And he needs to know when to get the best out of his abilities and his skills. But I think that falls at the hands of the manager also trying to almost improve him and develop him. Have that little word in his ear. Maybe he can show a little bit more mental strength as well, not letting it get to him as much as it has. But 5 games in, with a lot of the season to go, I'm going to get behind him because I think he built enough credit in the bank last season. But that was my thoughts on Amad Diallo. I thought I'd get off my chest. Because I'll be the first to admit, as I said, improvement needs to happen. But I think the criticism and the witch hunt that's happened over the past few days, unacceptable for me. And that's where I stand on it. But remember to like, comment, subscribe if you're new. and I'll see you next time.